The Nintendo Switch 2 already has a large number of big exclusives and big games that are coming out that I'm excited for, like Fire Emblem Fortune's Weave, Splatoon Raiders, and Star Fox. But it still doesn't have some of the marquee titles that really helped push the Nintendo Switch 1 to be one of the best-selling systems of all time. And one of those games that maybe isn't as known or as big, or more like the games, I should say, that aren't as known or as big as the Marios and Zeldas and Smash Brothers, Animal Crossings, is Xenoblade and Monolith Soft's titles. But in this video, I wanted to talk about what Monolith Soft is working on and how their next Nintendo Switch 2 JRPG will be a generational type of game. The same vein that we saw to the Xenoblade 1 to the Wii, and to a little bit of a lighter degree, Xenoblade Chronicles 2 / Xenoblade Chronicles 3 for the Nintendo Switch 1. And I'm going to break down all of that. Now, I will have all of this timestamped, so if you want to jump around to the parts of conversations that you want to get into, you can. And I think that it's going to be a very fun conversation because there's a lot of stuff that I think that's going to happen with this. Some of it a bit of inside information, some of it maybe speculation as well that we're going to talk about here. But before we continue, we are giving away a Nintendo Switch 2 at 140,000 subscribers, or on September 1st, whichever comes first. Subscribe, like, comment. The winner will be chosen at random, and it's a worldwide giveaway. Thanks, peeps. So let's just first dispel some myths about what Monolith Soft is working on. There's been some artwork that's been like years old now at this point that people keep on bringing up as, oh, they're going to do some type of fantasy RPG or Zelda or something like that. And I'm not talking about the Zelda that they work on with Nintendo, with Fubiashi and Mr. Aonuma. I'm not talking about that, like an actual original Zelda title developed with the Takahashi team, Production 1. I don't think that's the case here, guys. I think it was just some art that they put up. I don't think it really indicated anything at all. But here's what we do know factually when it comes to Monolith Soft and what they're working on. It's going to be a brand new RPG, or a new RPG, so it's not a remaster or a remake or something like that, but it's Production Team 1 game, and it's different from what they've done before in the past. So different from the Xenoblade games, or different from what we expect from them. Now, of course, there's going to be similar things because it's Monolith Soft, but it's definitely not going to be the exact same thing. So some people have taken that as, okay, it's a brand new IP, and it could be, but it could also be a new style of game within a set IP. So it's very different from Xenoblade, but it can be called Xenoblade something else instead of Xenoblade Chronicles, or it can be a very different type of structure when it comes to the game, despite it being in the Xenoblade universe, which we will detail a bit more here. Now, what is the launch timing? What's going on here? And of course, what's going to make it generational? So the thing about this is that the launch timing for this, I do think that they don't want to wait too long. When it comes to Nintendo, for the last number of generations, they always want to reveal Monolith Soft's title sometime within the first couple of years in the system, just because it's one of those things that gets the core gamers excited. Yes, you're not going to sell it like Mario and Zelda, but it's still something that shows off what the system is capable, and it fills a gap that Nintendo doesn't have, which is one of the reasons why they bought Monolith Soft in the first place. They can create really awesome, big, beautiful JRPGs that filled the void where Final Fantasy usually wasn't on a Nintendo platform, like the mainline Final Fantasy. Cool stuff now is that with the Switch 2 we got that, but Monolith Soft is still here because they do create a different style of game. So I do think that Nintendo is prepping to announce Monolith Soft's next title, and they've been working on this for quite some time now too. So I do think it's going to happen. I'm guessing that they could announce it sometime this year, maybe the end of the year at a Nintendo Direct, or maybe even just an announcement or a presentation, something like that. But if it doesn't get announced this year, I don't think it makes it past next year. Nintendo has used Monolith Soft multiple times as a one more thing to talk about at Nintendo Directs, so that could be the case here with Monolith Soft's new game. So I'd expect some type of announcement before the end of this year or early next year. So I don't think they're going to make any rash announcements too early. I think it's going to be announced and released in a timely fashion, just like Xenoblade Chronicles 2 and just like Xenoblade Chronicles 3 were. Now, here's the big thing, of course, what is going to make this game generational compared to what we've had before, and why is it that way? Well, the big thing with Xenoblade Chronicles 1, or Definitive Edition, whichever one you want to say, but really just more like Xenoblade Chronicles 1, let's focus on that and the Wii. That was a generational thing because the Wii did not have open world games like that. Many developers had no idea or did not know or just could not work with the paltry amount of RAM and system resources that the Wii had. And even with Monolith Soft, yes, it did look a bit rough when it comes to Xenoblade, but the scope and scale of what Xenoblade did on the Wii showed that there is another level to these developers, that they made something that easily nobody else could do. There is no other game that's as big in terms of content for a JRPG or just RPG in general on the Wii. There's nothing else like it. It's one of a kind. A lot of the other RPGs on the Wii were definitely more of like PS2 smaller end type of games. They were not the scope and scale with real-time combat right there without battle scenes loading up. Xenoblade 1 on the Wii did something generational that has not been replicated on that system, and nobody, I don't think, ever will replicate that. So that is what I mean by a generational type of game. This is probably the most compatible, the best resource-wise, just the best system that Monolith Soft will have ever worked on. Because remember, they've been working with Nintendo now for about 20 years, so they haven't really been developing for other platforms, but this is by far the biggest leap, the best jump, the best specs, the best resources for the type of games that they like to make. Big, open world, beautiful style of games that hogs up resources quite a bit with the Nintendo Switch 2 compared to the Switch 1 and the work that they did, and even what they did all the way back to the Wii, which is why I brought that up. This is truly that leap that they need. It's not too much to the point to where their team couldn't handle everything when it comes to what it's thrown at and it's going to cost too much to make. I think it's just right with the amount of power when it comes to the jump, the resources, what they're going to be able to do, and that's why I think that this game, whatever they do next, will be a generational, incredible type of experience that make you just say, wow, like we've seen multiple times from Monolith Soft with Xenoblade 1, with Xenoblade X, with Xenoblade 2, and to a degree, like I said before, with Xenoblade 3. So I do think that the other things, the little things that kind of plagued Xenoblade games for decades now at this point, that stuff can be fixed up. The frame rate issues that they've had, resolution issues that they've had over the years, all of that can really be fixed up now with this system, and that's why I think that this is going to be different for Monolith Soft, because there's been a lot of criticism, and rightfully so, when they launch a product. Xenoblade Chronicles 2 had a litany of issues, from low portable mode resolution to frame rate problems to quality of life issues, but I do think that they're going to put everything that they've got into this next game, and with the Switch 2, it's just so much more capable than what they've had. But they've also had a whole generation of getting acclimated and used to HD development with multiple titles, so I think it's going to pay huge dividends with this game, and that's why I think it's going to be generational here when it comes down to it. So if you look at that power difference, you look at the resources, you look at what they've already done, the experience and everything that they've gathered from making HD games now since when they started developing Xenoblade X on the Wii U, I think this is going to turn out to be absolutely incredible. Now, what type of RPG will it be? Turn-based or action? Well, if you look at Xenoblade Chronicles, it's really an action RPG with some light turn-based elements here and there depending on the game, but I do think that they can do something a bit different. I feel they're probably looking, or they've looked at some other stuff and maybe what they want to do in the past and what they've done currently with Xenoblade, and I think they're going to make something like a hybrid. Think maybe Metaphor Refantasio, something like that, to where you have some good action RPG stuff, but maybe more of the main focus of the game is a turn-based game. So action with some hard turn-based elements, or it could even be vice versa. It can be action with some more integrated turn-based elements than what we see usually with their like affinity attacks and certain type of things, chain attacks and stuff like that. So I do think that they're going to do some type of hybrid. I think it fits Monolith Soft well, but I personally would love to see them return to a more grounded turn-based style of game with some cool action elements thrown in there. I think that creates some of the most compelling type of games, and if you look at it recently, at least, a lot of the best RPGs that are coming out game of the year quality RPGs that are coming out are turn-based RPGs. You look at Metaphor ReFantazio, reviewed incredible. That was my game of the year for 2024. And then you look at Expedition 33. That was also my game of the year for 2025. So turn-based RPGs are absolutely killing it at this point. 2 back-to-back turn-based RPGs as game of the year quality, game of the year for me and for many other people as well. Metaphor ReFantazio, despite Astrobot being maybe the overall game of the year for many outlets, a lot of big outlets chose Metaphor ReFantazio as the game of the year. So I do think that a turn-based return would be pretty good. And I think it sets up kind of how they can take this to where I think the second part of being generational is, which is getting that acclaim, getting those nominations for Game of the Year, getting the sales that you would need, because Xenoblade came out and essentially sold better than anything Monolith Soft had ever done beforehand. Xenoblade was a huge boon for them. So I do think that that's what this can do. I think that with the system, the improved specs, obviously they're going to have better resolution, frame rate, and all that than what we saw before in the past at the launch of previous games. And then with their experience, they can truly turn that into something that can appeal to more people and do better than what we've seen before. Now, the best-selling Xenoblade game is Xenoblade Chronicles 2, at around 2.5 to 3 million units. We don't have any updates, and it's been a while. It's been years pretty much since the last sales update that we were able to see, but I'm guessing it's around 3 million units for Xenoblade Chronicles 2 based on people still picking up the games and playing them to this point. So I think it's around there. I do think that this new game, if they nail everything and they really deliver a polished product that kind of starts again and starts new to where you don't really need to play Xenoblade 1, Xenoblade 2, and all of that beforehand, people can just pick up from there, and it's impressive and gets the review scores as good as what we saw with Xenoblade Chronicles 3, where that was a Game of the Year nominee for many places and even won some Game of the Year, but it was a highly rated game. I do think that this game can actually pick up to that sales pace. It can get there if it was able to do all of those things. Now, this is maybe just slight story spoilers here in terms of what they're actually going to do. So if you don't want to be slightly spoiled on some of the story stuff, just skip ahead to the number that I'm going to have right here on the screen. So let's just talk just briefly about where they could go with this, because the type of game that they make, if it's a new game within the Xenoblade universe, but it has brand new characters and everything and loose ties to it, I think it could pick up after what happened with Xenoblade Chronicles 3 Future Redeemed, Xenosaga 3, Xenoblade Chronicles X Definitive Edition. It could pick up there on the new planet, on Earth, or on that new world that was formed. I think that would be awesome. Once again, new characters, new everything, and then you can lightly sprinkle in some ties and some different stuff to the characters before, considering the endings of Xenoblade Chronicles X with the new content added in. And I think that would be awesome. It would be brilliant. It would give people that love Xenoblade kind of like their resolution to everything and continuation, but then also new people who never played that. That's okay. It's new characters, it's new everything, no ties when it comes to just the ground roots, what's starting on that new world. And maybe it's a bit of a metaphor. Maybe it's a bit of something to where they're kind of hinting, hey, this new world, it's a new type of game, new style on what we're doing. Maybe there's more to it than even what we saw there, because pretty much all of those endings are all kind of the same thing. So I'm excited to see what they're going to do and how they go about all of this. So the conclusion in all this, man, I'm freaking pumped. I think this is going to be one of the better games. I think that it's going to be awesome. Monolith Soft, I have all the trust in, and I can't wait to see what they have for us, because they've been cooking for a while. Xenoblade Chronicles 3 came out in 2022. It's been 4 years since the last Team 1 production style of games, so they have definitely been cooking. They've stated that they've been hiring and they've been doing all sorts of stuff for this new game, so I cannot wait. I think it's going to be phenomenal. So what do you guys think when it comes to everything that I talked about here, and anything else you want to add in when it comes to Monolith Soft's next Switch 2 RPG? Let me know in the comment section below. All right, guys, that wraps it up for this video here. Thank you so much for watching. I do appreciate it. Please make sure you hit that like button, subscribe if you are someone new, click that notification bell, and check out my other Nintendo Switch 2 RPG content and more right here on screen. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you guys for the next one. Peace.